Alright. Alright, welcome back. Welcome back to the next tier list. As you can see, I figured out how to get the images in without cropping them. So now I don't actually have to have the game open in the background. You can just see what I'm talking about right here. And you can actually read them. Thank God. But yeah, I got all the Financier challenges here. I'm not gonna go over like all the same things that I did in the previous video. I kind of just want to get straight into it. So we're going to do that. We're going to get straight into it, starting off with Courteous Criminal. Now, this is a challenge that is not unique to the Financier. It was implemented in the withdrawal afterwards. And similarly to how I think how Packing Light was originally in deposit and ended up being in the Financier as well, I think this was done less. I mean, it's just kind of not really, it doesn't really affect that much in this mission, and I think that it was done better in the withdrawal. Or not, I mean, not really done better, because obviously the challenge is the exact same, but like the map of the withdrawal just calls for a challenge like this more so than the Financier, because there's not really much that you actually break in the Financier, even if you're doing it normally. By the way, the challenge or the mission isn't actually pronounced Financier, it's pronounced Financier. But I'm gonna keep pronouncing it Financier because that's the way that I've always pronounced it, and I'm not like there's no way that I'm gonna go back on like 8 years of, not 8 years, 6 years of calling it Financier. I can't do it. I've tried. I've genuinely tried, because even though I hate it, I do want to pronounce it the correct way, but it's just not gonna work. But anyway, yeah, the mission, the Financiers it doesn't really call for a challenge like this because there's not much that you break. So I'm kind of glad that it exists. Like, I'm glad that this challenge exists so that it can be in other missions, but I don't think it needs to be in like, I don't think it needs to be like a recurring mission, you know? I don't think any of the challenges need to be like recurring in everything. Overall, this just doesn't really, it's not really fun because all it really does is prevents you from shooting open Quincy's room door. And I guess there are other things that you can break, but like, that's the only thing that you're gonna break generally in a normal stealth build. So all it really does is prevent you from doing that, so you have to lockpick it instead, which is just kind of like, it just kind of loses time and doesn't really change much. Um, so it's not really fun to do. It doesn't really teach you anything about the mission. Overall, I don't really think it needs to exist. So honestly, I was kind of thinking B tier, but I think I'm actually gonna put it in C tier just because, like, I mean, just like what purpose does it actually serve? I guess it's kind of a nice name, but like I said, I mean, I think maybe it would have gone in B tier if this were like the only appearance of it, but the fact that it also appeared in the withdrawal and it actually has more of an effect in the withdrawal, and I think it's just a better challenge for that mission. I think for that reason, like looking back on it, it just kind of isn't really that interesting, and doesn't really do much other than just make you take like 12 seconds to open a door instead of half a second. So yeah. Dodging Papercuts is the next one. Yeah, this one is, I guess it kind of needed to exist, um, because it needed to show you there are other ways to do the mission without searching the files, but like, you're gonna search the files like every single time. And I think now is a good time to mention that while I do think the Financier is a good mission, um, I don't dislike any of the missions so far. I do think the weak part of the Financier is the challenges for the most part. Not many of these are super interesting. It has a lot of the worst ones, in my personal opinion. And, I think that's just like, that's just a result of the mission design. Like, Sashano didn't really have much to work with remaking the Financier, and I think they did a very good job considering that. I like a lot of what they did with the remake, but overall, the Financier is a very linear mission. It's probably never going to be any different. And dodging paper cuts. I mean, it really, the only thing it does is it gives you the only use for social engineering 3 in the entire game right now. And it does have another use in the withdrawal, but that's not really an important use. And obviously, asking Ryan for his password is not necessary most of the time because you want to search both the files anyway. The file that gives you the computer password also gives you the pin to his phone, whereas the dialogue option to talk to him doesn't give you his phone pin. So if you want to unlock his phone, you either have to search the file to get the password or you have to take him out. And obviously, it's beneficial to take him out as late as possible because of the timer. So the majority of the time, you just are going to be searching both the files anyway. So social engineering 3 really has no use other than in this challenge. So I'm pretty sure this is that's the only reason that this exists. And doing this without social engineering 3, I mean, even then, that wouldn't be that difficult because you could still just hack the computer and crack the password. Yeah, overall, this is just kind of a whatever challenge. I don't think I'm going to put it in C tier though, because it has more of a reason to exist than Courteous Criminal. It doesn't only serve to, hold you back in terms of time. It does have an actual effect on gameplay, so I'm gonna put it in B tier just for that. But I don't think it's anything super special. And the majority of the challenges in the game are probably gonna end up in B tier anyway, as you saw in the deposit. The vast majority of the challenges were in B tier because I do think the vast majority of them are just cool. They're not bad. And like I said, B tier isn't bad. But, do I really think about them often or do I think about going back to them and playing them? No, and that's what I think separates a decent challenge from a really good challenge. You know what I mean? But B isn't bad. B it's in the middle for a reason. It's just average. So you should expect the majority of them to be in there. Yeah, this next one is probably gonna be no exception. Fraud alert. Find intel and use it to distract Ryan's personal guard. Now I will say this is a good challenge when it's paired with this one slacking off. I just think that the mission could have done with only having this one. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it really needs this one when it has this one. I mean, I guess this one teaches you how to do it, but this is the only purpose that has. The difference between these two, and for example, what was the example I had in the deposit for the one that makes you close the vault helps you because you do that one and then later on you see an undisturbed occupants, you have to close the vault. That's a good thing for to teach you early on. But for this one, this is not this is the same challenge. This is the exact same challenge, basically. The only difference is you press P to make her walk away. That's literally the only difference between this one and this one. There's no one in their right mind is gonna do fraud alert without doing slacking off. You know what I mean? And obviously you can't do slacking off without fraud alert. So I just don't think they both need to exist. You know what I mean? And because this one, the only thing it serves to do is teach you how to do this one, but you're already gonna it would just be better if you had to find that yourself, you know what I mean? If you look around on the first floor enough, eventually you'll walk in front of Quincy's door and it'll say like the freelancer and Rose will have some dialogue about, how it's her room, and Rose will suggest maybe you should take a look around in there. You know what I mean? And that would lead you to find those papers on the desk and that would lead you to do this. You don't need this challenge. Because of that, I think I'm gonna put it in the C tier. Because yeah, it just doesn't. I don't think it needs to exist. I think this one is just the same challenge, but it does it better. And I ultimately think that the mission would actually benefit from it only being this one, because it would, require you to use a little bit of common sense and critical thinking, which is the intention of the game. You know what I mean? Anyway, moving on. Explosive surprise is the next one. Kill Ryan in the panic room without opening it. I like this one. It's a little bit cheeky. It's a little bit silly. Um, I don't know why I just said cheeky. I'm not I'm not British. I don't know why I just said that. Never said that word before in my life, but yeah, I mean, I'm fine with silly challenges. There's another one was that. Um, is another kind of like non-really serious one. I also like how, I mentioned this about another challenge in a deposit before. I think it was Archive Examiner. How the title kind of like the description just tells you what to do, but the title is what kind of actually gives you a hint on how to do it. You know what I mean? And I think the actual best example of that is in the withdrawal. And I'm not going to say what that is yet, but you probably know what it is if you play the game. Um, but yeah, this is a good example of that explosive surprise. It like, you know, you're not going to see very many people in the community server asking, "How do I do explosive surprise?" because it's called explosive surprise. How do you think you do it? You know what I mean? Overall, is it that crazy of a challenge? I guess not. I don't think I'm going to put it in A tier, but I am going to put it in B tier. Just because, like, it requires you to do something. You're going out of the normal path to do it. Um, you know, and it's a good example of, like, making you use critical thinking, I guess. Even though it's not much critical thinking because it's kind of obvious, but, like, still, I think it deserves to be in the B placement because it has a little bit more creativity put into it, and it gives a little bit more to the mission than the ones below it. All right, so going up, obtain the elevator card. Now, I do want to reiterate. I said this in the deposit video, but I do want to reiterate now that D is reserved for like challenges that I really just are painful to do. I do not enjoy them at all. They like actively take a lot away from the experience. And this does not do that. The only reason it does not do that is because it does something. It is just telling you to do something that you're already gonna do. You know what I mean? And I just feel like challenges that are showing off a route should ideally have like a little bit more, like it should have you do something else that just makes it like a good idea to do that. You know what I mean? Like, for example, later on, Inside Job. It's kind of like the same comparison as slacking off to Fraud Alert. Inside Job to this, you know, this would still, like, eventually, if you do enough testing and exploring, you're going to figure out that the elevator card is in the safe. So this, like, the fact that this challenge exists on its own just kind of screams they ran out of ideas. You know what I mean? Which I guess I can't blame them too much for that. It's like, I'm not the one that's actually making the missions. And I do have like every mission requires the same amount of credibility, 150. So like, if you do run out of ideas, you're obviously gonna start putting stuff like this in. So I'm not like too mad about it. But I just think that this is probably the most pointless challenge in the entire game because like it's just so not out of your way at all. It doesn't show you anything new, and overall, like this one just does it better because it implies that you need to use the elevator, but there are multiple options to use the elevator card being one of them. You know what I mean? So if you explore a little bit, yeah, you might find that AP3 can call down the elevator. You also might find that Electrical Engineering 3 can rewire it to come down. But, you know, because those are both the third level in major perks, you're probably more likely to find out that Lock Artist 2 can get you into the safe, especially when you go into the security room and you see the safe, you're going to be like, okay, I need to know what's in that. And when you find it, you might not even be actively trying to do inside job when you have that realization. You know what I mean? You might just be looking around and then you'll find it. And then later when you see inside job, you'll be like, oh, so that's what I'm supposed to use that for. You know what I mean? And that's just good gameplay. This kind of just like takes away from that a little bit, especially because it appears so much earlier than inside job. Um, so yeah, honestly, I'm not gonna put it in D tier because again, like I said in the deposit, I'm imagining one that I want to see in D tier, and I think that it's significantly less torturous than that one. So I am gonna put it in the C tier, but it is probably the most removable challenge in the game. I'll say that if they remove this, I would literally not notice at all. I guess I would notice because the credibility would go down, but if they replaced it with like anything else, I would probably not even notice. Like if I looked at it, I would like I wouldn't be able to tell the difference. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, I'm not gonna put it in quite in D tier. because it just kind of exists. Moving on to moving targets. Eliminate Ryan while he's running for the panic room. Now this one, this one is kind of interesting, I guess. It does kind of, well, no, I guess it doesn't really. I mean, I was gonna say that it does show you that you can't really take him hostage after he starts running, but it doesn't really show you that because you're not even gonna try if you're doing the challenge. Um, but I do think it's important to know that. But yeah, I guess the challenge doesn't really do as much as I thought to teach you that. I mean, again, not every challenge. I mean, there are different things that I'm ranking them on. You know what I mean? Not every challenge necessarily has to like show you something important about the game or about the mission. You know what I mean? So I'm not being like too hard on it for that purpose. I'm just trying to think of something that it does, but like a purpose that it brings. I mean, it's not bad. I'm definitely not putting it below B, just because like, I mean, why would I? I do like how it's not locked to loud. Um, you can do it in stealth. It actually might be kind of beneficial to do it in stealth. If you combine it with something like maybe personal style. Well, probably not, because you probably want to interrogate him in personal style. But I don't know. I like how it gives you a very simple instruction, and it gives you a lot of freedom on how to do it. So I'll say that that's something that I do like about it. Overall, though, it's probably going to the B tier. Yeah. Okay. No pretense. No pretense. As an avid pre-stealth fan and pre-stealth enjoyer, this may come as a surprise, but I'm actually probably going to put no pretense pretty high. One, just because I think the name is perfect. It's so like succinct and just really gives you the idea of like the vibe that it's going for. But also just because kind of like how in the deposit, you know, burning time and unshaken plans kind of exist to show you the different routes of how to do loud. A lot of these other challenges imply pre-stealth is required. Whereas this one just shows you like the more simple, like straight to the point route. But the difference between the missions though is that in the deposit I actually put burning time lower than unshaken plans, even though the burning time is the more straightforward route. But in this one, I'm actually probably gonna put this one. I'm probably gonna put this one in the A tier, honestly, just because. I mean, I also really like that. It shows off the concept of alarming weapons. You know what I mean? Because that's a new thing that they added into the game. I like that some missions have a public entrance like that, and I can see that that's probably going to be a thing in the SCRS as well. Trying to think of other missions that would also apply to. It probably wouldn't. It probably won't apply to any other missions than this one in the SCRS, but it could definitely be a thing in operators as well. And you gotta all the things that are being introduced in the entry point Freelancer's Cut engine could also and likely will also exist in operators as well. And I just think it's a really cool concept. I like the idea. I like that they're exploring concepts that like they didn't really do in entry point. You know what I mean? Because they didn't really give themselves a tool to do it. The tools to do it. Like the engine that entry point is on, the code for it is just not very like they don't have very good. It doesn't have very good infrastructure. You know what I mean? It doesn't have much to build on. They didn't give themselves much space to add in like unique concepts like this to the missions, and they tried. You can tell that Shishato has always had creative ideas, but they just weren't able to do it as much. And I think this engine has given them a lot of freedom to do that, and I really like that. You know, yeah. Overall, I think No Pretense is a really good challenge. I think it's a really fun challenge. Even though obviously pre-stealth is like the ideal option for the majority of the time. Um, like No Pretense is, I wouldn't say this is like the best way to do the mission if you're not doing a challenge, but it is really fun. Um, and yeah, I just don't really have much to say about it. I think I'm actually gonna put it in A tier. I think No Pretense is really good. Alright. Was that? Did you just? Are you serious? I mentioned this in the deposit in passing. This is one that's referencing an original thing from Entry Point, which if you don't know, I've only seen like one or two people that played Entry Point Freelancer's Guide that didn't know about this. But just in case anyone is watching this video that doesn't know what this is referencing, in Entry Point, if you drop Ryan off the edge in the Financier, you put him in a body bag and you drop him off the edge, Rose will have this exact dialogue to say about it. So this one is kind of like benefiting people who played Entry Point originally, which, to be fair, I am going to go into criticisms of that a little bit, but to be fair to Shishato, you should play Entry Point before playing Entry Point Freelancer's Cut. I would not recommend playing Entry Point Freelancer's Cut first. I think everyone should at least play through the entire story of Entry Point. Definitely play out the Operator's demo too first, just because Entry Point Freelancer's Cut is a paid access game too. You know, play both of those games to get a feel for it, see if it's like concepts that you like, if you like the gameplay. I guess the Operator's demo would be more for showcasing the gameplay, and Entry Point would be more showcasing like the fundamentals. But yeah, so to be fair to Shishato, if you're playing Entry Point Freelancer's Cut without playing Entry Point first, you are making a mistake, in my opinion. That being said, the lack of like explanation for this just kind of, it doesn't imply like critical thinking. It implies like either you know or you don't know. And if you don't know, you're probably just going to go ask other players, how do I do this? Right? You know what I mean? And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I do like that the game encourages cooperation a lot more too. Like it's usually beneficial to bring more players, whereas in Entry Point it wasn't. So I guess it's not a bad thing that it's getting the community talking, but like overall, I just think like maybe there's something a little bit more creative they could have done with it rather than just titling it the exact dialogue that Rose says, which also spoils the dialogue if you don't know it, right? But overall, I don't know. I'm just thinking about this from a perspective of someone that hasn't played Entry Point before and doesn't know what this is referencing. It might not be as like great to them. Which again, to be fair to Sashato, those people are the minority for sure, the vast minority, like probably like less than 1%. But even still, like I don't know. I do think that it's good to like not like exclude a demographic, not just be like this one's for the veterans. You know what I mean? Um, but it doesn't matter too much. It's a fine challenge. I think that it's funny. I think the dialogue is funny. I think it's funny that originally they did think of that. That they knew that that's what the player would do when playing Entry Point. They knew that they were going to throw him off the edge. They added the dialogue for that. I think that's good. It's kind of like how they also added Jackdaw having the second line of dialogue if you disable the meta detectors twice in SERS. It's just like I like when the developer of a game like knows what the player is going to do. You know what I mean? Even if it's going against like what you're supposed to do, they just know the mindset the player is going to have. You know what I mean? And that's kind of like a good thing. But I mean that's not really related to the challenge in this game though, because that's just what it was in the original Entry Point. All this is like referencing that. Still though, I'm probably gonna put it in B tier, just because I thought it was funny. Um, yeah, I could definitely see it going in C tier for some people. All right, bear market. Bring Ryan to the elevator as a conscious hostage. I'm gonna be completely honest. When I was setting this up, I realized that I don't know what the title of this means, and I was gonna look it up, and I forgot to look it up. So I'm gonna look it up right now. Actually, I'm gonna look up the words bear market and see if I get anything that pops up. This is talking about the stock market, so that's probably not relevant. A market in which prices are falling, encouraging selling. Yeah, that's the only definition that I'm getting. Yeah, I don't really get it. I don't really get what that has to do with bringing Ryan to the elevator as a hostage. I mean, well, oh, wait. Wait, that might be a genius. Hold on, because Ryan is an investor, right? he invests in the stock market. He also invests in Phoenix, but like, he invests in the stock market. You take him to the elevator, and then he goes down in the elevator because you take him down to the. Holy shit, that's actually a fire name. Wait, that's actually like the most creative thing Shadow's ever done. Dude, I can't believe I'm just having this realization now as I'm recording this. That's actually an insane. That's like the best challenge name in the whole game, dude. Damn, I'm thinking about placing it in like A tier just for that. That's such a good name for that. Like just pure creativity of the challenge is like probably gonna put that in A tier. I mean, I guess like for the actual challenge, it's kind of like going up, where it just kind of like shows you what to do. You know what I mean? And it's not really like it's probably just something you were gonna do originally. It's not. You don't really need a challenge to tell you to do that. You know what I mean? And that's kind of something that I've said a lot. Or I don't think I've said it so much so far, but something that I think a lot, and something that I will definitely continue to say more often as more missions get added. It's just kind of challenges telling you to do things that you don't need it to tell you to do. You know what I mean? That being said, though, that name is really good, and that's actually such a genius name. I'm dead ass putting that in A tier just for the name. It has to be. It has to go in A tier. It has to go in A tier. If people ask, I'll give them that explanation of the name. It's so good. That's actually so good. And to think I was considering putting that in like C tier for the same reasons as going up. But I just had that realization right now. And I love it so much. It's going in A tier. Dude. Oh, shit. Alright. All That Glaze is going to be immediately followed by the worst challenge in the game right now, in my opinion. Blind Spots. This challenge fucking sucks so much, dude. It's so bad. Like, it literally. Okay, alright, hold on. The concept of it is fine. I'm fine with it existing. I understand how Sish came to the conclusion that it needed a challenge where you don't disable the cameras. I like how it's a continuation of the deposit and vigilant eyes that don't take out the camera operator, and now it's like, okay, now there's more camera operators. You're not allowed to take out any cameras at all. It's kind of like building upon that. That's all not bad. The concept of it is not bad, but the actual gameplay is so bad. It's literally okay. Sometimes it's not that bad. I can understand some people doing this challenge for the first time and coming to the conclusion that it's not that bad. Because if you get lucky, it's not that bad. But if you don't get lucky, you can sit there waiting for literally so long. I've had to wait for like 8 minutes before, and it's absurd. You know what I mean? Um, God. Okay, so let me get into the reasons why you have to wait, because maybe not everyone in this is as familiar watching this is as familiar with the mission. So you can't disable or loop any cameras, even like temporarily, right? So number one, if you're with players, if there's only one camera operator left, you can't talk to them to distract them, because that will distract them from watching the computer monitors, so cameras go off, right? So you can't do that. You can't use a distraction, which is fine. I actually like that that's in the game. I like that they took the time to add in that distracting them will distract them from what they're doing. I don't think that's a bad gameplay addition, but you have to either one, don't take out either of them, which sucks. I wouldn't recommend doing that at all, but it is an option. It requires you to wait for. Okay, so either way you do it, it requires one of them to be in the far corner of the room, where there's like kind of like a closet or like looks like a fridge. It's like some kind of storage container. It requires another one of them to be closer to the door, either facing the computer or facing the desk that has the radio on it. Those are the waypoints that they have to be at for you to not take out either one of them. If you do want to take out one of them, then the waypoint that's by the disguise rack also works if you want to take out that person. If you want to take out the person that's in the far corner, then the other person has to be facing a computer because they have to be looking away. If you want to take out the person that's closer to you, then the other person just has to be in the far corner. You can use any of the three close waypoints. to take them out. But either way, no matter how you do it, one of the guards has to be in the faraway point. Alex also cannot be in the room because then she would be too close. So I highly recommend taking her out before you even go into the security room. And then what I recommend doing is taking out the one of the guards can detect you with a disguise and the other one can't. The one that can detect you with a disguise is also the one carrying the maintenance key. He's black, he has blue hair. I can't remember what his name is. I think it's Ethan. I think his name is Ethan, and the other one's name is Zahir. But anyway, you take either one of them out. That's what I recommend doing. Take Alex out and then take out either one of them. Preferably Ethan, if that's his name. But like the waiting time for that to happen, just it can not be that bad, but sometimes it is terrible. And the fact that they like designed it in a way where that's like a possibility is like I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. That was a mistake. That's a shot I made. You know what I mean? They should have considered the possibilities of that when adding this challenge into the game. And the fact that they didn't, and the fact that that resulted in, this, the fact that they took no precautions to prevent you from having to just wait for like 10 minutes, makes this challenge deserve to go in D tier, even though the concept of it is fine, and I don't like hate that it exists completely. It's definitely the least fun challenge in the game, for sure. And I think if there's any one challenge in the game, and honestly, right now, I think there is only one challenge, at least that I can think of off the top of my head, that deserves to be in D tier, and it's this one. Yeah, I don't like blind spots. I don't know anyone that likes blind spots. It's just not very good. So yeah, that's my explanation on that. Dangerous extraction, though. Dangerous extraction is good. This is a good way of introducing the concept of pre-stealth without just like blatantly telling you escape in the helicopter, or like don't set off the alarms immediately, but escape in a helicopter. That's kind of like the going up approach to it. This took a different approach. This challenge requires pre-stealth, obviously, because you have to take him hostage, or knock him out. But it doesn't just tell you do pre-stealth. It requires you to think a little bit. And for that reason, it's actually, I think that it's very good, and not only for that reason, but also because of how effective pre-stealth is in the mission. Like it doesn't just showcase pre-stealth; it also showcases pre-stealth with all of its benefits. You know what I mean? Taking Ryan alive benefits you because it makes the SWAT less aggressive. It makes them spawn less frequently, and it's a good thing. That's why pre-stealth is generally a good thing to do in the mission. And now, if everyone has done all the challenges, they know that because they've done the challenge, right? If they were paying attention, of course, which hopefully they were. But yeah, I think this is really good for that reason, and I'm gonna put it in A tier. I think it's pretty much the perfect demonstration of pre-stealth in the mission, and yeah. So I'm putting the pre-stealth required and no pre-stealth required both in A tier. So that's a that's a W for the Financier, I guess. Clean extraction, the counterpart to dangerous extraction, bring him out alive in stealth. I don't really think this needs to exist. I think bear market kind of does this. I mean, it doesn't necessarily, because you don't necessarily have to like you can do clean extraction without doing bear market. You can also do bear market without doing clean extraction. There's just no real reason to. Like these are just both the easiest ways to do it, and so for that reason they kind of cancel each other out. But I do think bear market is better because of the name. They couldn't keep the name if they had it like this because it wouldn't be as clear. So honestly, I'm just gonna keep bear market above it. I'm gonna put this one in like B tier. Sure. Inside job. Complete the mission without ever going outside. Yeah, see, this I think is the better counterpart to going up, personally. I think it just does the job of going up better. I think if it was only this, it would be better because you have to think about it. Like you have to think, how can I, complete the mission without going outside? Right? It's not just like telling you use the elevator so you don't have to go outside. know. And so for that reason, you know, I'm gonna rank it just based off of like what it would be like if going up wasn't in the game, and I think this would be like, I think this would be B tier. It would be like pretty solid B tier though. It's a good one. It's important, um, and it's like, you know, it's concise, and it just tells you how to do it. You know what I mean? It tells you the more like, it forces you to do the more complex routes, but the more complex route is, you know, more beneficial once you get it down. You know what I mean? And that's something that I was talking about a lot in the deposit. It's something that I like about the game a lot. So yeah, I think that this one is I think this one is good. It's a good one. Hasty Retreat. Start the elevator before completing any other objectives. You know, I was talking in the beginning about how the Financier has the weaker challenges, but I think this is actually going to go in the A tier. I think yeah, I think it's going to go in the A tier, and that means that this mission actually has more A tiers than the deposit. Yeah, I think this is a really good one. I think that it changes the way that you play, and it showcases what happens if you take a different route, right? If you start the helicopter first, police notice that and they start to be more aggressive after you start the helicopter. Now that happens no matter when you start the helicopter, but it's obviously a lot less noticeable when you've already started it. Or you've already gotten all the other objectives, sorry, and you're at the helipad, right? So that kind of like, it kind of brings more attention to it. The only thing that I would change about it is I would maybe make it so you can't get the files in pre-stealth, because you can. If it goes loud and then you take files before starting the helicopter, it fails it because that counts as a loud objective. But if you're still in pre-stealth and you're searching files, it doesn't count as a loud objective, even though it affects loud, because if you search files in stealth, you don't have to take them in loud. So the only thing I would do is I would make it so searching files in stealth fails this challenge, because that counts as an objective, and that would force you to take all the files in loud. And that would force you to like kind of move throughout the map a lot more, with more SWAT being more aggressive because you started the helicopter, and I think that would create a little bit more gameplay. But yeah, overall, still as it is, I think it's a really good one. I think I'm gonna keep it an A tier. All right, keep out. Keep the time lock, or complete the time lock without interruption. This is another one that I think very well showcases the one of the routes that you can take without just straight up telling you take the route. If the challenge was just use the time lock to open the panic room, that would be a lot more boring. But keep out is like it's good because it shows the same thing that would do, but it also adds a challenge to it where you have to not let it be interrupted. It also adds a use for electrical engineering and loud, which I think right now is the only use for electrical engineering and loud. If you can use it to rewire the time lock, and it'll go like significantly faster, you know. So I think that is actually like, I think it's really good, even though that you would pretty much never take this route ideally, because you would just have refined composition for the panic room, or you would just pre-stealth. Overall, I think this is a good demonstration of the route, and actually, I might put it in A tier as well. I'm thinking about the B tier ones, and I think this one is just better designed than those ones. So I think I'm gonna put that in A tier as well. Yeah, it's a really good challenge. I don't have too much bad to say about it. Lone operator. This one, why the fuck does this exist? This is like peak ran out of ideas. And you know what? I'm not giving them a pass for this one. I'm not giving them an excuse for this one, because why does this exist only for the Financier? If this challenge is gonna exist, like, sure, but you would think that it would exist for every mission, or at the very least, it would exist for a mission that's like obviously more difficult in solo. But the Financier isn't. The Financier is no more difficult in solo or with multiplayer. Like, it's the same as the other missions. Bringing other players has benefits and downsides. It has the same benefits and the same downsides. You know what I mean? So the reason that they just added this to this mission is clearly just because they ran out of ideas. You know what I mean? Which again, I can't blame them too much for that, but like overall, this challenge just does not need to exist. I mean, it's going in C tier. Packing light. Packing light, yeah. Okay, I did say that I like this one more in this mission than I do in the deposit. Am I still gonna put it in the B tier? Hmm. I don't know. I think I'll put it in the A tier. But I think the thing is, it's kind of making me question the no pretense. Because these are practically the same. Not really, though. I think they can both be in the A tier. Because you can do no pretense without packing light. Packing light has other facets to it, you know what I mean? Like, do I want to put it in the A tier, though? It doesn't really change much. I think that it has more of an effect on the Financier than the deposit, which is why it's better for that mission, but I think I'm still going to end up putting it in B tier, honestly. I don't think it's really deserving of being an entire tier above where I put it in because I put it in the B tier as a deposit as well. It's just kind of a B tier challenge, you know what I mean? I don't think there's anything super special about it. It doesn't really change the gameplay that much. And overall, like normally I would like talk about how like I like other challenges that kind of like make you play around a concept, like the concept being raising the alarm by going in with visible weapons. Packing light kind of makes you play around with that, whereas no pretense just kind of get straight to the point. And normally I wouldn't like the get straight to the point ones as much, but in this case I kind of do. I kind of just like no pretense more than packing light. Maybe it's a little bit because packing light isn't original either. Even though I do think it was done better in this mission than in the deposit, it's still kind of like it's not a very creative idea, I guess. I don't know. I think I'm happy with it being in B tier, honestly. It doesn't do as much for the mission as I like maybe was like remembering it doing when I was saying that in the deposit video. It's not really that important. I think I'm happy with it being in B tier personally. Okay, search reverse. Pacify less than 3 security guards. This obviously needs to exist. If you have a mission with a takedown limit, obviously one of the challenges has to be don't, you know, do it without taking everyone out or without starting the timer. I mean, it's good. Is it like great? I guess I kind of like that it. I mean, I kind of like that it goes hand in hand with other challenges, but like one of the challenges that it goes hand in hand with is blind spots, and that one sucks. So like, I don't know. I think I'm gonna put that on the B tier as well. It's just kind of like, eh. No, it's kind of isn't like important though because the concept of not taking out enough guards to start the timer is just kind of common sense. It's another thing where like the challenge doesn't really need to tell you to do that. Like you don't really need a challenge to show you like, oh, this is what happens when you don't start the timer. Like obviously, if you don't start the timer, it just doesn't start. Like that's what it is. So like, yeah, I don't. Yeah, I think that's okay in the B tier. It has a good name though. Search Reverse is a good name. It kind of just rolls off the tongue. It's a very succinct way of describing it. Okay, Shots Unfired. Shots Unfired is just kind of a more um. Where's that one that I? Oh yeah, Courteous Criminal. I ended up putting in C tier. Yeah, Shots Unfired just kind of like builds upon this a little bit more. Um, because you can't shoot the door, but it also adds more to it than just the time loss of not being able to shoot Quincy the door. Because you also can't shoot people. It kind of adds the benefit of like, maybe being able to take these people hostage would be better. What do I need to take them hostage? I'll get a higher intimidation level, right? It kind of gives you implication to like play around in the skill tree a little bit. Um, Overall though, I don't think I want to put it higher than B. It's just kind of like, I'm really just thinking about the ones that are here and the ones that were in A tier in the deposit as well. It's just like, hmm. Yeah, I think I'm happy with that being a B tier. It's just not really one that I like think of, you know. And it's kind of just like if you wanted to do it without shooting a shot, you could just do that. You know, I don't know. I mean, I think it's better than Courteous Criminal. It's like I think it probably should have replaced Courteous Criminal. They go hand in hand so well that it's like you're never gonna end up doing Shots on Fire without doing Courteous Criminal, really. Yeah, it's whatever. I'll put it in the B tier. 60 seconds. All right, this one is short, straight to the point. Pacify Ryan and get Howard Drive in 60 seconds. I like this one a lot. It's like literally just straight to the point, like do it, but straight to the point in a good way. You know what I mean? There's a difference. Some challenges do straight to the point in a bad way. Some do straight to the point in a good way. And this is one of the ones that does it in a good way because it's not showcasing a route. It's just testing your ability to do the mission, right? And I guess they're kind of just like two different types of challenges. Challenges that are like showing you how to do something, and challenges that are expecting you to already know how to do certain things. So it's just testing your ability to do them. Both challenge types are necessary. Both are good. The second type generally ends up being a little bit more fun. 60 seconds. I'm probably going to put in the A tier just for that. Even though it is a little RNG dependent, it is a little RNG dependent. If we're being honest, there are some times where you get RNG where you just can't do it, and that's a little bit unfair. But to be fair, you're not going to be resetting that often. 60 seconds is plenty of time. You don't have to actually complete the mission in 60 seconds. You just have to, get Ryan in the hard drive. So like, it's very applicable to loud. But if you wanted to try doing it in stealth, that would be kind of an added challenge, you know. And it's not loud only. I like that it's not loud only because you can like add a little bit of a challenge to it if you want to. Yeah. So overall, I like this one a lot. I'm gonna keep it an A tier. I'm kind of thinking of some of these should maybe go in this S tier. Um, Hasty Retreat. Yeah, I think I'm actually gonna put both of these in the S tier as well. Hasty Retreat and not 60 seconds. Sorry, not that one. That's not the one that I meant to get. Hasty Retreat and Keep Out. I think these might go in the S tier. I mean, they just do everything that you would need a challenge to do, and they're fun to do it, and it's fun to do them as well. So like, yeah, maybe I was wrong originally. Maybe I was wrong about the Financier having the weakest challenges. It kind of has most of the best ones. It also has most of the worst ones as well, but it's just kind of like, the peak is still like very good. So yeah, yeah. I think I'm happy with us being an S tier, yeah. And then what was the one I just placed? 60 seconds in A tier, yeah, I think that's a good one. All right, slacking off. Don't take out Quincy, the head of security. This is a good one. Like I said, it's just kind of a better version of Fraud Alert, and I put the better version of Going Up in the B tier. Probably gonna put this one in the B tier as well because I don't think it's quite A, but it is good that it exists. It's good that it shows you the pros and cons of doing that. If you don't take her out, obviously, there's, you know, well, I say the pros and cons as if it's not like entirely cons. Like, I mean, showing the consequences of doing something a certain way is not entirely a bad thing. It's still showing you more about the mission and still building your game sense. You know what I mean? So it's not really a bad thing. But yeah, it's generally better to take her out pretty much every single time. One thing I do think is weird though, and this is not going to affect my ranking of the challenge, but just like game design wise, she still knows where Ryan is even if you've taken him hostage. So like if she hangs up the phone call, she'll just go to him. I think that's a little bit weird. I mean, I don't really know why she does that. I think a better way of doing it would have her maybe like do a loop around the penthouse, and if she doesn't find him, then she starts like a search for all the guards. You know what I mean? I think that would maybe be a better way to do it. Have her doing like one individual search herself, and then starting a search with the guards. Maybe a little bit more creative instead of just having her immediately go to him, even though she has no reason to know where he is because you've already taken him hostage. So like, I don't know. That's kind of weird, but that's not gonna affect my ranking of the challenge. It has nothing to do with it. We keep that on the beef here. All right, target priority. Pacify Ryan before you open the safe. Um, hmm. Yeah, I can probably put this one in the B tier as well. I do like that it goes hand in hand with personal style. It also goes hand in hand with 60 seconds. Well, actually, no, it doesn't, because this is stealth only. 60 seconds, like I said, is better to do loud. I guess, I guess, yeah, the fact that this is stealth only kind of adds to it a little bit. Kind of adds to the challenge. If it was loud only, it would definitely not be nearly as much of a challenge. I'd probably put it even lower. But yeah, as of right now, I'm probably gonna put it in the B tier. But it's good. It's good. Okay, time pressure. Deactivate the security system while it's counting down. This one is definitely good because it shows you that the alarm keypad exists, and that's a good thing. But one of the things about it, which actually I'm not even gonna say this is a bad thing. I'm just gonna say it as a thing. You can open the door from the inside and then shut off the alarm from the inside. Like you can just go right up next to the keypad and then just open the nearest door without even like going outside. And you can do the challenge without going outside, and that's the easier way to do it. It's like cheese, right? But I don't think that's a bad thing though. I think that's a good thing, because it allows you to get more. It allows you to use your game sense to do it a little bit easier than you normally would have. You can use things that you learned from playing the game before. I guess it's more like kind of just common sense than actual like game sense, considering this is the first alarm keypad in the game. But still, even then, you use critical thinking to do it. But even if you're not doing it like that, I think it might be more beneficial to have specified that you can't like, you know, you can't open the door from the inside, but like, I don't know. I'm not really gonna hold that against the challenge. Really, I'm probably gonna put it in the B tier. It's good that it exists. I like the alarm panel concept. I like that it like gives you an alternative, as opposed to like actually shutting off the alarms with the power boxes. Because like even just that, there's like multiple ways to shut off the power boxes. But the fact that there's an alternative to even that, where you don't have to do any of that, you can just get the alarm code. There's just a lot of different facets. There's a lot of different ways you can go about just like getting inside. You know what I mean? Which is something that like was very simplistic and pretty much the exact same every time in the original entry points. That's a very good remake of it. And I think that the alarm panel it was a very good addition. Also because you can ask the inside guard to shut it off too, using social engineering, that allowed for a good use of social engineering. So yeah, overall the alarm panel is just a really good addition to the game, and I think this challenge is a good showcase of that. So I'm putting the B tier. High ground. This one is so pointless. I don't know why this exists. Do not know why high ground exists. It literally is just what you should do. Like I guess it only exists to be the opposite of Hasty Retreat, but like this is just like you don't another thing where you don't need the challenge to tell you to do that. You know what I mean? Starting the helicopter after you've already done all the other objectives is what you should do anyway. And I guess it's kind of different because you can kind of start it earlier if you're not doing the challenge. Like if you know someone else is like actively getting the last file bag or actively getting the hard drive, you can kind of just go for it, start the helicopter. But like overall, I just don't think this challenge needs to exist. It just is telling you to do something that you're already going to do if you have common sense. And so I'm going to put in the C theory. Yeah. Okay, high versatility. Yeah, this is a nice little challenging one. It allows you to. I think this is actually the first time in the game that it showcases that you can knock people out with a drill, which is something that I was talking about in the deposit that they should have just made resourceful robber be like not allowed to bring anything, so you can only use a drill rather than bringing a gun, right? Um, but actually, now that I'm looking back, I don't know if they even added the ability to knock people out with a drill when the deposit came out. I think that only came out after they added the Financier. So it actually makes sense that challenge is that way. And it makes sense that they would then add this challenge to showcase your ability to do that. You know what I mean? I think it's cool. I think it's cool that you can knock people out with a drill or like just blunt object. You know. Um don't have too much else to say about it. I also like that you can't take people hostage if you don't have a gun. So this kind of lets you like you have to like think about ways to do certain things without taking people hostage. Even though honestly, I don't even play Financier with Intimidation too, but I mean you can't take Ryan hostage either. So like and still a lot of people do play it with Intimidation too, just because they think it makes them easier and it like challenges what they would normally be doing. So yeah, overall I think Versatility is a pretty good one. Um, it also shows you the use if you bring the reinforced bit on the drill, you can get in the elevator card easier. So it kind of showcases the use of that. Um, yeah, overall it just kind of increases your game sense, increases your skill, shows off a lot of different things that you wouldn't normally see. Things you wouldn't normally see, but it's still like good to know those things because it increases your game sense. Yeah, because of that, I think I'm gonna put this one in the 8th here. And these last two are really good as well too. I think Hotline Halcyon. I think this should come as a surprise to no one, but this is going to be the SS one of the mission. Like I said, I'm going to put one of these as a. This is not necessarily like significantly better than the ones in S tier, but it's just like this is. I think it's important to highlight. I want to give the best challenge in a mission its own tier. And I think in this case it is actually like really good, even compared to like the best ones in the rest of the mission. The Hotline Halcyon is like one of my favorite challenges in the game. Might even be my favorite. Um, I really like how it encourages like team coordination. You know what I mean? It also is it's kind of just easier solo because it actually has like a nerf in in solo where in solo if you take out a guard it doesn't affect the timer as much. Whereas in multiplayer if you take out a guard it increases the timer a little bit more, so you have to be like a little bit more coordinated. But like that's not bad, you know. Even though I do think like it could be made a little bit better by the fact that like it's just genuinely easier to do in solo because of that nerf. Still, I mean, most people I know did it in multiplayer. I definitely did it in multiplayer the first time, and it's just a very good one for like encouraging coordination. You know what I mean? Like it's just a good one to do in multiplayer, even if it's not like the best way to do it. It's a good like I would recommend doing it in multiplayer. Because it like teaches you to talk with your team more. You know what I mean? It encourages you to plan things out because you have to plan things out to do it, and you have to like kind of all act accordingly, and like at the same time you have to all like execute different things, not necessarily related to one another, but they all have to be happening at the same time, and that's just very, very good. It's just good cooperative gameplay overall, and also it's just like really fun. It's just fun to clear the penthouse in the time that you have. You know what I mean? So for all those reasons, I'm gonna put it in SS. It's one of my favorite challenges in the game right now. Yeah, love Hotline Halcyon. And personal style is another good one. I'm gonna go ahead and put that in the 8th here. Um, at first, I didn't really like a personal style. How it allowed you to get a disguise from the security center. But that was just me being a tryhard, honestly. Now that I think about it, it makes perfect sense because it's trying to like showcase where the other disguise is in the map. You know what I mean? It makes sense. But overall, it's just very fun to do. I like that it requires a perk tree that you wouldn't normally have. You know what I mean? Like you have to go out of your way to respec to get either Advanced Protocols 3 or Electrical Engineering 3. It's not very viable to do it with the elevator card. Also not very viable to go like outside to do it. You know what I mean? So, I like what it does with hacking. It currently has easily the best use of Advanced Protocols 3, where you can use the kill switch to kill the cameras and also call the elevator down by accessing the network switch. If you want to be a little bit safer, you can also access the security center to loop them. But overall, you can just access the access point in the like middle room area, and you just use kill switch on it. That's very good. It's a very good use of Advanced Protocols 3, which I'm obviously gonna like because I just really like hacking. Hacking is like probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite aspect of Entry Point Freelancer's code that they improved upon in Entry Point. It's just really fun to do. It's fun to do. Either you want to brute force it, just like run through and just kill everyone that you see, or if you want to take your time, you know, like maybe loop cams instead of using kill switch so you don't get the network outage, and then like, you know, slowly, like methodically take people out. You know, it's just overall, it just plays really well. It's a good showcase of the mission, and it's a decent challenge overall as well. So I think it's the best stealth challenge in the game, yeah. And I think it deserves to be in the S tier, this one. So yeah, that's all of them. That's all of the Financier missions. Yeah, I finally figured out how to make it so you can actually read them as I'm scrolling over them. So I'm gonna show this all here. Yeah, like I said in the last one, I really, you know, I want this to be a trend that people do. I want to see other tier lists, you know. So definitely consider making a tier list yourself of these challenges. Um, you know, should probably make a video on it like this. I think that is like, you know, making a video on it. I like this, you know, format for it because it allows me to talk about each one specifically. You know, but even if you're not gonna make a video and you just want to take a screenshot of it, you can definitely ping me in the Pre-Fall Softworks community server. Uh, yeah, I would love to see, you know, more tier lists like this, and definitely let me know in the comments if there's anything you heavily disagree with or you heavily don't like, or you know, just what are your thoughts on this tier list? What are your thoughts on the challenges? Let me know. I'm trying to encourage discussion here. Yeah, that's all I gotta say. Thanks for watching.